WiscoDice. Hey folks, it's Cozy with the Most. I'm here in studio, and I'm going to go over the weekend purchases, or really just what showed up from the mail truck today. So today was a really good mail truck day for the Cozy, so rather than just taking a picture and posting it on Twitter or writing a blog post, as I kind of mentioned in the last video, I wanted to do more of these videos where it's just random stuff that's just happening, and so this one's kind of one of those. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with some of my recent drop zone commander purchases. I've been trying to get more into the drop zone commander game. After we did a little alternate miniatures games day here, where drop zone was one of the games featured, I really fell in love with the game. I've watched a lot of videos. I've watched a lot of stuff on it. I've played it. I'm finally getting a chance to play the game, push around the miniatures, which was cool. They were all painted because I painted them all prior to the event. But that was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. So next was to get some more, to basically grow the 2-player starter box. So of course I decided to go with Scourge because I think they look just awesome. The models are really cool. I plan on filling out the UCM stuff. In fact, I already have started to kind of backfill the UCM stuff, but I'm not going to do that nearly as fast. I've already got 2 copies of the 1-player starters, and I got a command vehicle for the UCM, so that's a pretty good start. This is the command vehicle, though, for the Scourge, and it's a flyer, which apparently is kind of a disadvantage of the game, but I haven't seen it. It basically, what this thing does is again, the Scourge are all really close range weapons, but this thing basically blasts out a series of almost lightning electrical plasma energy in a burst around it when it fires its main gun. So that's going to be kind of cool. It's very devastating. It's very fast. Should be able to, with some care, be able to get it in position. And just to give you kind of an idea of scale of how big this guy is, these are Scourge Infantry Troops that I've already painted up for the game. It's just a 5-man little base. It's 10mm games, so you can kind of imagine how big this command ship is. It is right now the biggest drop zone commander model I own. Just giving a little more scale comparison, this is a 100 battle tank. Look at how tiny that is, how big it is compared to an infantryman, but how tiny it is compared to this giant machine of death. It's going to be very cool. I also picked up another giant model. This is one of the newer models from the more recent expansion. Super detail on it. I did have to do a little green stuff. This is a resin model. I did do a little green stuff to kind of gap fill where the tail fits on. But otherwise, extremely easy to put together. Great detail. Even the underbody where you have like these repulsor lift kind of things. Just great detail. I've of course mounted it so I can use the drop zone commander thing so I can pull the stands off, which is nice. No breaking the flight stands like you would with some other companies' flight stands. But again, the scale of this thing, and in comparison to my command ship, it's still big. It's still just a little bit tinier. This is actually a drop ship, so it's going to bring in some I'm going to use it for bringing in some anti-air assets, which are actually leading into that. It's going to be these Scourge Ravagers, and these are basically like these little 3-legged walkers that walk around and blast at the using a very similar gun to the Scourge anti-air tank. They do have a little bit longer range, but they're a little bit than the Scourge anti-air tank. But they are quite a bit smaller. So you can see, here I'm unboxing it right here for you. Here's like the main bulk of it. You'll have the little blaster cannons. This is the top. You'll have little blaster cannons. They'll sit up here on the top. These little bulbulous things. These would be the blaster cannons, and they'll just go into the top, and then it'll have a series of 3 or 4 legs here. I think if it's got 4 legs, it'll fit on it. It's just a little walker. Makes it kind of nice. So the thing is like one of the problems with the Scourge tanks, while they're very fast, they're hover tanks. They they tend to have a problem if there was, like, say, a small row of shrubs or a small brick wall. It couldn't go over it if it's like 6 foot in height or so. You know, about the, you know, it's about, if it's about as tall as the infantry here, it can't go over the top. So these walkers will be able to allow me to have something that, while it's slower, if I do drop it and then I scoot over the top of a wall, I can do that in the game with these walkers. So that's going to be really cool. Go ahead and just put the foam back in here. And what else did I buy? There's more Drop Zone. So I also saw these, and I thought, you know, in any game, a VTOL anti-air aircraft would be really cool. And so the Scourge have this, and they're called Reavers. And what these are basically their version. It's a small light aircraft, so a smaller base, even a smaller flight stand than the two big bases. Not that the flight stand is really that critical where the base is. It's really, these are and these are really based on, I just got them also today, the light drop ships. Very similar body. This piece is exactly the same body as the light drop ship. So it's the same chassis as that, but then these have a bigger, they'll have a bigger component. I think it goes on like so, yeah, like this, and there's going to be some guns that then kind of stick off of this, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to fly around and blast things with big plasma bursts, which should be pretty awesome. So give me some air-to-air support, because one of the things with Drop Zone, you need to control the air battle so that you can dictate and have the movement advantage. And Scourge definitely have the movement advantage with the ground troops, like their Hunter tank. This is probably the fastest tank just about in the game at a move of 9 inches compared to, like, say, a UCM tank that only moves 4. But with the problem is I need to, you know, that really only comes into play if I can control the air game by knocking out the UCM ability to move their stuff around the board quickly with dropships. So having some aircraft that I can use that aren't necessarily the super flyers that aren't allowed in the 1,000 point or less games, and that's kind of where I'm at for the newbie kind of side of the things. I do have some of those aircraft coming, but I'm not ready to really advance to that points level. I'm still learning the game enough. Another thing I picked up recently with these Scourge Minders, and these are basically came out originally with the Scourge. It's a really cheap squad, very anti-air. These do fly. Really tiny little bases. See the size of the bases here with these flight stands. Very tiny. These guys are very small. You get like 6 of them in a. You buy them like either by 6 or 12, I think, in a squad, and they're just a little thing, and they have this little like pod almost, and then they have this little blaster, and they just float around and go zoom 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 at aircraft. So they'll be kind of cool. Another cheap little unit. And one of the things I found with Drop Zone is it's pretty easy to come up with like a 960 point list or something like that. But then you're like, oh, what am I going to do with that last 30 or 40 points? Well, these are great because they're cheap for 6 of them. So you can kind of add them on to one of your battle forces and have a squad that's perfect. So continuing on the Drop Zone, obviously I just mentioned I had the light light aircraft. I think these are Reavers. Forgive me if I got the name wrong. The light aircraft. So this is the light infantry drop ship, and this is the light armored kind of scout drop ship. So very similar. Both of the bodies are exactly the same sculpt. The bottom, obviously, this is kind of a transport module, so we'll sweep in, drop the module, and then sweep out. Guys would disembark. And that's how it would load them up. This kind of just, the stuff just kind of sucks up right up to these little circle things, and they would almost be like magnetized and sucked up onto those. And the big reason I was looking at getting these dropships, particularly the infantry ones, was, and I was already putting them together today, because I'm that excited about them, is that I've gotten a box of these Scourge Destroyers, and you won't be able to see the detail here, but I noticed right away, one of the first things I wanted, these are my first metal infantry, and these are just brutal. Like, they can smash their way through walls, like assault buildings when the buildings got that side of the building. Normally you can't assault or go into a building when there's troops on the other side that are manning the side of that side of the building. These guys just don't care. They're just going to go right through it, which is really awesome. They're just that big and tough and really brutal. They're obviously much bigger than the standard infantry. If I can find the infantry stand again, here it is. Look at the size of these guys in comparison to the normal 10. They're almost twice as big. Now, they only get to put 3 of these on a stand, so they're definitely making up for some of their giant. They take up more space, obviously, so they're in that function. But the detail on these, and you can't really see it. I was really kind of like meh on the detail on the plastic infantry. Both the Scourge and the UCM, and having seen some pictures, I think these used to be in metal, pictures of these in metal, and then these now getting these. The detail in the metal miniature is so much better than the plastics. Just really exciting. I'm looking forward to putting together that squad of destroyers and getting them on the table. It's going to be awesome. So that gets me through all of the drop zone commander stuff that I've got today. Don't worry, folks, that is not all of the stuff that I've got. I've got more stuff to go ahead and go over, but we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and talk about the rest of the stuff that I've gotten in the last few days.
Hey, folks. Make sure you check out the WiscoDice website at WiscoDice.com. Through our blog, you can go ahead and check out great articles, catch our contact information, see our sponsors, check out photos, all that good stuff that's not just in the video feed. It's WiscoDice.com.
Okay, wow. Was that a lot of Drop Zone Commander or what? And probably some good even thoughts about, at least initial thoughts about what I'm hoping to make those models do in-game. Now, in later reviews or later shows, we'll go ahead and actually talk a little bit about how the strategy and usage of those actually come into play as I get more opportunities to play the game. Hopefully, I'll be able to line up some more not quite starter set games in the very soon or upcoming future. Now, go ahead and move into some of the other stuff I've gotten. Very recently, I have decided that I've heard a lot about these, and it's the foreground Mdf Train. Now, typically, historically, I've been not a fan of Mdf Train. And the biggest reason why is, when I've handled it, seen it at shows and conventions, the stuff looks amazing. I've never seen any of this that doesn't look great. Typically, it's been all orientated towards futuristic type games, like, say, setting up terrain that might be used for Warhammer 40k, which just isn't really my bag, or it's more urban, modern type terrain, which is cool. But until very recently, I really didn't play or try any modern type systems or games. Now with Foreground, they're a UK company. They've kind of, I don't know if they're the biggest guys on the market for doing this kind of stuff right now, but they seem to be really popular in the market. And so I've gotten 2 different kits. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, so I'm just kind of getting my feet wet here. I'll do a more formal review of both of these kits later, either on the blog at WiscoDice.com or through the video feed. But this is a Corner Ruins, and I think this will look really good in my bolt action games, my World War II stuff, maybe get it into some wartime games. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna. It's got pretty decent instructions on how to build it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it on a like an MDF or a pressboard base, hardboard base, and build it up to nice like that, and put some sand and whatever on to make it more kind of a fixed set of ruins, or if we're going to kind of leave these so that I can just set them on the battlefield. I haven't really made that decision yet, but 28mm scale, Also gives me the opportunity. They're all kind of pre-painted, pre-colored. One of the things I noticed right away when you handle these is get ready for the smell of burnt wood. So that's kind of not appealing for me right away with it. But I'm definitely going to give it a try, and I'm pretty excited to see this on the table and see what I think truly of this product. The other thing that I've gotten, and that's to go with the Drop Zone Commander stuff. Thought I was done with it, huh? But looking at 10mm scale buildings, this is something that I don't have much for terrain. I do have the stock cardboard buildings that came with the 2-player starter set. I'm also going to do some printing off of paper designs that Hawk War Games has on their website, and then attaching those to like press to foam board, or gluing those to maybe some just thick card, and then mounting them on some kind of base and seeing what I think of that. But I've also got one of the foreground kits, and you can even see that in the picture on the outside of it. It has UCM vehicles right there, so it's obviously intended for use with Drop Zone Commander, and that's why they made this. So I'm kind of excited. I'm going to see what that looks like, and then I'm going to get with a couple other guys, because one of the things we want to do for Drop Zone that I really want to do is really get a special table built and ready to go for it. So those are purchases I've got from Foreground. Except reviews later on, but I'm really excited to be able to have the kits. I also, moving into Dreadball, got 2 new Dreadball teams. I got these on eBay, so these were pre-owned teams. So I've seen, other than the pictures on eBay, I haven't even opened these up yet to see what's in them. Hopefully, these are, I think, based on the way the tape is stuck on here, I think these were brand new. I don't think these were ever used. So I might be the first person actually opening these teams. So this one's going to be the Kentucky Colossals, and they look like kind of gray aliens with green armor, so you can kind of see that. Let's take a look. Okay, pop her open. Certainly bases for the Drop Zone guys, and why they're colossals, but they're like half the size of a human, so wow, that's kind of cool. Those would be kind of different. They seem almost like they're a different plastic than the other Dreadball teams, so I'll be kind of curious to see if that's the case, because one of the things I've really been annoyed with Mantic is this kind of plastic, resin, whatever, hard plastic that they're using. It's just frustrating to kind of work with. The mold lines scrape off, really difficult. It's not my favorite material for a miniature. They glue together kind of funny. So I think these are Season 3 teams as well, so I'm going to have to pick up the Season 3 Dreadball rules to be able to have the rules to actually play with these. Kind of annoying, so many miniatures companies, particularly smaller companies like a Mantic in a game like this, have the rules for the miniatures right in the box. Unfortunately, Dreadball doesn't do that. Maybe someday if we ever see a Dreadball 2.0, they might do that. The other one I have here is the Mauryan Ancients. So these guys are almost like Cthulhuids. The Nameless Confederation is what they call them. So again, I think this is a brand new team. Like, this is probably the first time this has ever been opened. So these models are like tentacly, and some of them are kind of big, some kind of cool. I being a Cthulhu kind of guy, I'm kind of excited to see that too. So looks like I have 8 stands or so here for the team. Of course, Mantic didn't give me the extra couple that would have been on those plastic screws. Wow, there's some big guys in this bag, but again, kind of that gray plastic, hard plastic. So some of these look like they have special inserts that just fit over the top of the bases, and then you put their little tentacly legs into the little holders on the outside, so that's going to be kind of cool. I don't think these will be too hard to paint up, hit them with the airbrush, maybe prime them black, hit them with the airbrush with some red, and then just go back with a little dry brush and some washes maybe, or maybe I'll fiddle with some purples. I don't know, it should be pretty easy to paint this team up, get them built, put them on the table. But again, another Season 3 team I'm going to need to go run down some rules for before I can actually play with. So there is that. We need to get that Season 3 rulebook. It'll have to be on the list of things to do and get. Alright, well, we still have more stuff. So we can go ahead and talk board games next. And so it's not really a board game, it's kind of a card game, social deduction game. It's called Coup. I've played it several times at my buddy Jason's house, who's been over on a couple of the .5 shows where we did reviews of the board game Descent. This is when I say social deduction game, it basically means you're almost in this game you're taking on the role of some kind of resistance, kind of underground fighter that's got certain political ties, and you're trying to overthrow the government, thus the name Coup. But meanwhile, the other players are trying to figure out who you are. So it's just when you start the game, you get 2 cards that are yours, that represent who you are, I think, and what your goal is on your turn is you have a series of actions that are defined here that you can do. Either collect some money, perform an assassination against another one of the players, where they would have to discard one of their 2 cards and put it face up in front of them. You can block somebody from getting money. You can steal money from somebody else. Kind of cool little mechanics that way. And you can do any of those actions. Now, what's kind of cool here is that I can say, okay, well, I'm the Duke, and that lets me take an action where I can claim 3 money. Well, there's only so many Dukes that are out there, so in a like 4-player game, if all 4 players say they're Dukes, somebody's probably pulling a fib. So when it's not your turn and somebody says, "Hey, I'm the Duke and I'm taking the Duke action," well, there's certainly I can say, "Well, I'm a something or other, and I choose to block that action." So I could be, I think it's the captain that blocks the Duke. Duke lets you take 3 coins, and I think there's something that blocks it. I don't remember which one it was, anyways. But so somebody can say, "Hey, I'm going to block your action." I think you aren't a Duke. Or they could say, I think in the Duke there's not, but I can say I'm going to take this 4 and 8 action. Lets me take 2 coins, and I can say, "Well, I'm a Duke. I'm going to block that action." And I can go, "I don't think you're a Duke." And then if I'm right, you have to flip your card face up, and it's now dead. If both of your cards face up, then you are out of the game. So, kind of basically the way they track your lives. So, they have little money tokens. Pretty simple. Not a very complex game. I didn't do probably the best job of explaining it, but it's not a very complex game. It's a very fun game, very fast game, and you can play this. I think the base game allows for 2 to 6 players, and then what's great is that we have the Reformation, which allows you to expand the game up to 10 players, which I think is great when you're at a tournament or convention. You can get a small group of your buddies or friends playing around the table. You start out maybe playing with the base game, and all one of the many things that the Reformation does is just adds up to 10 players of the base game cards, so that you can, somebody goes, "Oh, can I join?" You can have them join, or allows that kind of nice flexibility of being able to have people come and go from your table and your game. So, good game. It's exactly why I picked it up, because I'm getting ready to go to Blood in the Sun, which is a Warhammer tournament in the Chicagoland area. Blood in the Sun. I'm always, I don't know if I'm getting a reputation, but some people do come up to me and ask me, "What did I bring for board games this time?" And I like to have some of these lighter, easier, quicker games, particularly at a convention or a tournament like that, where a lot of folks are staying around the convention, they've been drinking, and whatnot. So this gives them a chance to just kind of hang out, play something a little lighter, a little funner, a little faster. All right, finally, last thing I have. This is something I really haven't looked at much. I just got it today. Just showed up. I barely opened the box just to kind of see what was in it. I haven't even necessarily went through an inventory to make sure that they ship me everything I asked for. So these are, we'll just dump right out here. Little packaging slips, bits of foam. Kernel packing foam they used in this just irritates me. Okay, so what these are movement trays from a company called Litco. I'll tell you, I'm really excited to have them. I've been wanting to have some movement trays, particularly when I'm playing my Soviet Union troops in bolt action, to move my guys around the board faster, because there's so many units. When you have 14, 15 order dice, trying to get that gameplay in like 2.5 hours when you're moving each individual model, it slows things down. So this is one of my hopes, is to help me speed up my game so I can ensure that I'm getting my games done when I get ready to go to my first GT for bolt action in October. And I'm probably going to take my list to a couple of my Russians to some smaller tournaments where I still are hopefully going to be able to have put same 14, 15 order dice on the table. So these will help me speed up my games, I think. These are again, these are MDF, so very similar to the foreground terrain in that regards. This is I believe this company though is out of this is Indiana, is where the address on the packing invoice said. A couple things of note when with ordering I ordered these directly from Litco. I feel like that might have been somewhat of a mistake. I probably should have ordered them from a different local game store or something that actually, we have one in, I think, Janesville that actually stocks this company's product. It took almost 2.5 weeks from when I originally ordered to when these showed up on the door. I only got a shipping notice like 3 or 4 days ago, so I was not, needless to say, I was not super ecstatic about that. However, the bases do seem to be really good here. In fact, if we grab ourselves, I think I have, I actually do not have any bolt action guys on the shelf, but I do have this great Lord of the Ring guy that's had a 25mm base. Boom, he goes in there. Little bit of slop there, but otherwise Gimli is very happy. He'll be moving around the table pretty easily. Yay. And you see the base is almost, if you can see that, I'm not sure if you can see that in the picture, the base is almost with the GW base. Almost perfect. It's just a hair raised over the GW base is just a hair taller than the raised area. The standard bolt action bases should just fit right in there and actually be a little shorter because they're pretty flat. So that hopefully will even help with some stability. So I got two-man bases or trays great for like my sniper teams, my command teams, those kind of things. My commissar, my forward observer. I've got some 3-man bases. 5-man. This is a 6-man team, so that's kind of cool. A lot of 2-mans. Somewhere in here, I think I even have a 12-man. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Here's my 12-man. So that'll be for my free infantry squad. Some 2, 4, 6, 7s. I've picked up some random numbers of guys. This is an 8-man. I feel like I should have got some more 8-man trays. 8 seems to be where I fit a lot of my squad sizes, both for my Germans and my Soviets. 10-man squads, because historically most things are float around 10-man. So lots of different trays. I may go back and order up some more 8s, but for now, this should hopefully help improve my games. I'm looking forward to getting these kind of sanded and snowed up to match my Russian basing scheme. It should make the games look cool too. Being a Warhammer Fantasy player to start with, movement trays are always something I'm looking at, and these a lot of people don't use them or don't even think they're really necessary in these more squad-based, round-based type systems games. But I think this will be a key to improving those games. So anyways, that's everything I pretty much got this weekend. Lots of stuff. Pretty crazy purchasing weekend. I'm looking for delivery weekend anyways. I don't know if it was really purchases. Purchases were a couple weeks ago, even to an extent. I'm looking forward to getting all of these out and actually into being used. And for a good chunk of the stuff, look for upcoming content coming via the show to kind of let you know what we thought about, or what I thought of it, or what even Brian thought about it, maybe on the receiving end. Or one of the other, Eric's doing the Drop Zone. I think he's got Shalturi, so I'm sure we'll have some Drop Zone games. Lots of stuff. There'll be lots of stuff upcoming anyways. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have another episode of the main podcast here, hopefully being recorded in the upcoming week. So we'll have that out here shortly. I know it's been a kind of a drought for the actual audio show. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and of course leave the comments here. Make sure you check out our website at WiscoDice.com, and you can also submit your feedback or critiques to hosts at WiscoDice.com. That's our general email where all of the main members of the show can see your comments. So thanks for watching. Peace out.